Hello, it's the Dove Lady again. I want to take you on a tour of some of the orbs from the beginning of when they come out of the light source. In this case, in this picture, the light source is a LED light that I have in my room. Also, another light source I use is the sun, and I get the same difference. They both make the little pink circles around them. They both have the same kind of looking orbs coming from them. I often call these photons of light. I don't know if that's what they actually are, but I just want to show you a lot of the ways that they look when they first come out. And you can see there that some of the light from the light source is dark, and some is not so dark, and some is real light. So different shades of light come out from the light source, as evidence from this orb, and they can look pretty wild. This is one coming out that's all folded in. Sometimes they come out real wrinkled, and sometimes they come out real colorful. Sometimes I catch them on their side like this one. Then they start doing this little tossing back and forth of three different orbs. They seem to be all one, but they merge back and forth. You can see them here. The one in the middle goes back from the one on the right to the one on the left, and this does it according to how I move the camera. So that when I look at this, I realize that the observer is part of the equation. So what I see is dependent on how I move the camera. And I caught it in all kinds of its going back and forth. Sometimes I would catch it before it got completely across to the other side, and it would just be a long line, a little tube-looking or tape-looking thing. Sometimes I caught them on their side like this. One time I got this one, and it just looked like what the orbs are just like so flexible. They're like a little stream of water flowing over. And they get color in them and darkness in them as they move. And even when I would get I would mostly get these pictures with my focus up, not real close, but far away. But as I get it up closer, I'd see more color, and they would be bigger. You see, these are much bigger than some of the ones I'll show you next. But they do this little action, and then they can look like this. Like the orb decided just to fold up like a scroll. And here it looks like it's opening just a little bit. There's no one thing they always do, or one way they always look. Sometimes they unfold like this. Now here shows one coming from the light source. And you see, I caught it in several stages of its moving back and forth. I have a video where I actually show this in live action, moving back and forth like this. I'm going to go through these rather fast. I've shown a lot of this before, but you can see how flexible it is. Now, in this one, you can see that it has a lot of color in it, and it's still doing the little folding up thing and flipping over. And see, it's really still doing that action while it's got all that color in it. And they start getting color and design in them at this stage. Look how that one looks. But they don't stay still. They're always moving. Then there's maybe several spots of light, and they're all doing their thing. And the lights, the different ones will look like they're going into each other. Here's one of the photons, I like to call them, coming out of the light. But I could send that same photon right back into the light with my camera, moving it a certain way, more toward the light. It would go right back in, and then I bring it away some from the light, and it comes out again. and starts doing all of this. Sometimes it even has some kind of little marking like this in it. And then sometimes they start being real stringy looking like these. I don't usually show these pictures because I really like the pictures that are very colorful. But I did want in this video for you to see a lot of these pictures, to see all the different stages they go through before I get my camera focused on them further away from the light source, and they're just a big round orb with lots of color. And even then they're moving about doing things, and that's in them is moving about, changing and morphing from one color to another. And see the colors in them already. Here. And look what that one did. I thought that's strange. Sometimes they look like an accordion. And sometimes they start having a little design in them, or the light streaks around about in them in such a funny way, even when they're traveling in that mode. So I'll show you a few like that. You see how they kind of look like when they come off of each other, like they're just a part of the other one. They're that little part in the middle. Now, when I get further out, they start getting a lot more character. Like they may look like this, or like that, or have some big separation, a dark band in the middle of it, or all this color with lines going all kinds of ways. Oops. And then some days I get this big round thing. Only on certain days do I get it. But when I do, I just get it a lot. But some days I can't get it at all. But I can seem to always get very colorful orbs. Now this has what I call the patch. It kept getting in the scene when I would get an orb in view. This patch would move in view. I'll show you what happens to that patch a little further on. You can see it's a darker color. And there's my curved line balls. I'll talk about them more later. The colors just show up in so many ways. Sometimes I get a dark circle, like this one. And I had that a few times. Now this is what looks like a little X, but it's really the curved line balls that I told you I'd talk about. Because, and here's some beginnings of curved line balls, because this, I kept noticing its reoccurrence over and over in various stages of its growth from a small X to curved line balls. And I got a communication in the form of a message in one of my Google files that I had called The Power of Love, that I had put no content to. And there was a message there, and if you care to hear what that message was, you'll have to go to Manifestation 103. I read it there in that one. It was a wonderful message about what it is that I'm seeing in the orbs. And there's some more curved line balls. and more. I kept seeing them in different stages, and sometimes the orb would be full of many of them, and sometimes just a few. And there's a big circle again. And then I get circles like this. And see all those little circles? To me, they look like the atom. I'll show you a picture of an atom soon. Here I've got one in the lineup. Sometimes I get tubes that look like this, like they got something dark running through them. And the colors are oh so beautiful. The designs of color in them are amazing. There's some curved line balls in that I recognize. I have an eye for seeing them now, because what they are is something most miraculous. I'll put it that way. It's most important, not just to me, but to everyone. And this is a piece of glass that had a lot of little spots of light on it. It was a glass Christmas ornament. So I got a lot of little photons. And with my camera that puts 2 eye sockets in every orb, sometimes an orb will do this twist like that. And sometimes it'll look like this, or this, or this, or twirl around like this, or look like lace, or like this. I know it's hard to believe that an orb can look like all these things, but what's hard for me to believe is that this could be light refraction or caustics or something like that that's easily explained phenomena of light. This is not easily explained. The colors can get so fluorescent, and sometimes the orb will be full of strings. Now this one I used for showing the string theory and black hole theory. For sometimes it looks like strings coming out of holes, or tubes coming out of holes. And this one I wrote, I believe I'm looking at the subatomic particles. What would a physicist think this shows? And to me it looks like the orbital of the hydrogen atom. I'll show you a picture of that. These are the orbitals of the hydrogen atom. And you see one right there. That one right there? Well, that's what this looks like to me. Only mine are much more colorful. And here's some more of the orbitals. And this I got off of a website that's supposed to be an artist's rendition of subatomic particles and how they self-propel. And here's one of my orbs showing that same kind of self-propelling pattern. Only mine's much more beautiful. And it's the real thing. The other was just an artist's rendition. This is in real time. I got several pictures that show this weaving of the light inside these orbs. All of this is inside an orb, but I'm so close in, you can't see the outside rim of this orb. And look at this one. It looks like an orbital that is going round and round. It's making little round circles inside this orb. And here's a few. Dark things cross over the orb. Dark spots get in the orb. Sometimes the orb will twist like this. And sometimes there'll be bumpy little things on it, or just on a portion of it. This one shows these little pockets with the little bubbles are in there. But in this next one, you see how they fall out of that little pocket. And here's one that is an orb that's completely full of little bubbles that have burst out and just seem to be coming out of the entire thing. Sometimes they look like fans, colorful fans sometimes. Very beautiful and radiant. Sometimes they can look like a scoop with seeds in it, or a sun, like with sunbeams coming down, are like this. This is my friend Gerald. I got him with orbs around him. The sun's above us on the mountain. And what I did was I got down lower than he is because he's higher than me. And the sun is right at the edge of that mountain with just a little bit of it peeping over. And that always puts orbs around people when you get in that position to the sun and you're the photographer and you get someone to get in that position. You can get orbs around them. It's fun to do. And here's some more. This is one of my favorite ones because the orb moved in such a way that it looked like it made a wine bottle. And I even wrote in there, wine for your enlightenment, a light wine for enlightenment, I think is what I said. Okay, now here is a picture of the hydrogen atom. Here's the atoms in the pictures. I'll bring it up real close. See all those hydrogen atoms? Don't they look like that? And that other was an actual picture that they had managed to take of a hydrogen atom. And here I've got these orbs with hundreds of them in it. For you see, I'll bring it up again. There's several of them that are teeny tiny little atoms, little brown circles. There's so many ways these orbs look. Look at this one. Here's some more of the curved line balls. This orb looks like there's something across it. This one looks like a wave. This one looks like it's got seeds in it. And that's a different kind of circle. That's one of the actions I got too. Now here's the little brown looking part that is I called the patch. And I didn't know if things inside the orbs ever got in the way of each other. Well, they do, because then the next picture I took, well, that brown patch had moved over and this yellow part punched into the side of it. But then the very next picture and it's whole again. It didn't lose its shape to being punched. And here is one that looks like a orb is crawling. These little orbs and these things I call the curved line balls, the reason they're important is because the message that was given to me by Spirit said that what I'm seeing in the curved line balls was a process that light uses for the making of matter. This is a process of the light becoming matter. That wasn't all that the message said. It said something about that the light was intelligent. It knew what I wanted to manifest. And I've always thought, I want to manifest something. But I never told anyone what I wanted to. It was like a pipe dream. It was just something I wouldn't even say because it's kind of embarrassing to say you think you can do something like this. But I always wanted to manifest. And I always said, I'm going to think of the same thing to manifest. I'm not going to change it from one thing to another. It's going to be the same thing every time I think of this. And I wanted to have a silver platter made of pure silver and gold apples made of pure gold on the silver platter. So the message said that the light knew what I wanted and that which is silver and gold and fruit. And when it said that, when I read that in the message, I thought, oh, that's my silver platter with that gold apples. Lordy mercy. Whoever wrote that message knew the thoughts of my heart. And I know I had never told anyone about that. So you see the curved line balls and see how in this one there's several of them. They're growing into something that will someday be materialized into our physical 3D world. So that's why this is important. If we can get to the place where we don't have to depend on having enough money to buy all the things we need, or even to have all the resources at hand, because if with thought we can think into manifestation any needed item, food, anything, clothing, possessions of all sorts. Silver platters with gold apples. Anything we can think that we need, we can bring forth. I read so many books on my YouTube channel that are written about the masters of the Far East, and they could do this. They thought it a very ordinary thing to do. They didn't see it as such a fantastic thing. To them, what was really fantastic would be when they could convince people like me and you that we could do the same thing. Because you see, people depend on the masters and they worship the masters like we worship Jesus. Oh, he could do it, but we can't. We can do the same things. Even Jesus said we would do greater things than he had done. But we don't see ourselves doing those great things. We don't see ourselves multiplying the bread or raising the dead. But we'll be able to do those things. If you believe the Bible, a lot of people do. I don't believe everything the Bible says, but those that do believe it, they must remember that Jesus said we would do greater things. So with that in mind, think about what it is you want to manifest and know that it's possible. I'm going to keep believing for it. Sometimes I use a piece of glass that has several marbles glued together, and so I get several orbs in the same pictures. And each orb shows a different spectrum of the light, I think, because there's different things going on, different colorations and patterns from one orb to the next. And that is a little character that I see a lot. And there's Harry. He's in some of the orbs that I take pictures of. He's a little light creature. And when I was getting several of the orbs, see, Harry showed up in one of them. There he is in that one right there. Anyway, I think they're just the most important thing. Oh, look, I want to show you this when I go back to it. Sometimes what's in one orb carries over into another orb. Like, I think there's a dark matter taking over this lighter colored orb there. But then something else will make the dark color on it lighten up. And they just change all the time. I followed this look, this dark thing right here, you'll see the progression. I kept taking a picture. It changed in appearance as I did. See, there it is there. And then it started looking like this. And then like that. And then kind of stringy again. So I don't know what any of this really actually is. That's the last one in these. And I don't know what it's showing. I do know that I got that message, and that message means a lot to me. I hope it means a lot to some of you. If you believe me, I sure hope you do, because I'm not making up anything that really happened. I was as shocked as anybody when I read it. And it just kind of blew me away. And to this day, I think, well, gosh, it's been a year. It hasn't happened yet. And that don't mean I give up, though. I'm still believing for it. I was promised I would get a further report, a bigger one, about what it is I'm looking at in the orbs, for me to give to the scientists of this world, because I cannot speak their language. I listen to them and oh man, it just gets over my head before I even know it, and I don't really know what they're talking about. But some things that they show, like the self-propelling of the subatomic particles, and then I look at my orb and I see the same pattern. It's like, okay, I understand that. But they won't understand that maybe I'm seeing into something so small as that. Because all this that you're seeing in these videos, I see with the naked eye in a smaller way, but yet I still see it. And I can't study it for a long time because it's fleeting when I see it with the naked eye. But I do see the little round circles that look like atoms. I see them a lot. And they're always moving. Anyway, I'm going to end this now. This is the Dove Lady. Over and out for now. Bye-bye.